Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Mr. B. We are joining President Trump as he makes an announcement on election integrity and the Iran war. So let's jump ahead and check out what he has to say.
The DHS review state voter rolls and public records. They identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together. Democrats, Republicans, independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
All right, here.
Okay, that was President Trump making an announcement about election integrity. We're going to join another channel to learn more about the specifics of that document. Let's go ahead and do that.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation.
And therefore our elections can be stolen.
Let's see.
Of the intelligence reporting for electronic voting manipulation capabilities of Venezuela. What have we been talking about on our show? What did Laura Logan just talk about? What the CIA officer talked about this morning? What have we been covering nonstop?
He's talking about the files that was uploaded by the president to highlight this issue.
To Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan communist regime, and the ability to steal elections. Here it is. Summary of intelligence reporting for Venezuela's electronic voter manipulation capabilities. This CIA note effectively says that the Venezuelans can and do steal elections. Here we go. In September 2020, Venezuela has developed a detailed technical plan to manipulate the December 2020 National Assembly elections using what were, according to this report, a technique involving creating a second set of virtual machines that would replicate legitimate voting machine results, then substitute manipulated data while making the votes appear to originate from a legitimate machine. Well, that's exactly what's been explained to us by Rudy Giuliani and every election expert that's been on this program. The 2006 intelligence community assessment that Smartmatic's ties to Venezuela pose a national security threat based on solid intelligence reporting regarding Venezuela's government and intent to influence U.S. politics and evidence of Venezuelan manipulating their own electoral systems. This assessment led to U.S. government action forcing Smartmatic to divest its U.S. operations in 2007. Reporting indicated that electronic voting systems containing vulnerabilities that could still theoretically been exploited by sophisticated actors with insider access. However, the intelligence validated significant concerns. Foreign-linked voting technology vendors did not definitively confirm large-scale electronic fraud was successful when executed in the Venezuelan election. The CIA baseline assessment maintaining that other factors be better explained electoral outcomes. This is wild. These are the CIA documents proving that they know that Venezuela can steal presidential elections using their machines. Incredible. 2013, CIA Alternative Analysis produced the Devil's Advocacy methodology, outlined a plausible scenario how large-scale electronic manipulation could have occurred in Venezuela's election without detection. This analysis noted that Venezuela's electronic voting system was vulnerable to insider access, the centralized nature of their control over voting technology, and gaps in monitoring capabilities. If such manipulation occurred, elections in Venezuela and other countries and clients and the technology partner would be in doubt. Large-scale electronic fraud. This is what we've been talking about. This is the bombshell. So they've blacked out and censored some parts of these reports, replicate digital hash files sent to the central voting counting database, mimic real voting machines that favored the ruling party, overwrite hash files of voting machines that favored the opposition, make altered votes appear to originate from legitimate voting machine sources. Smartmatic and Sequoia's reported contacts approximately 400 U.S. counties at the time, open source reporting, corrupt relationship between Smartmatic and Venezuelan government officials, intelligence and Smartmatic directors held credentials, the Venezuelan intelligence services. So they're straight up saying that these are that these electronic.
Here are 65 AI tools you have to know if you want to make a sale.
Yeah, I'll pass. Monday CRM lets you manage your entire sales cycle with AI capabilities that help your team move faster than ever. Reach out effortlessly to leads and set up automated sequences to stay on top of every follow-up. With AI meeting summaries, next steps, and risk alerts, you'll never miss an opportunity or lose a deal. The best part? Everything is fully customizable, from setting up the perfect workflow with the AI Solution Builder to creating real-time reports that give you full visibility across your organization. The result? A faster, smarter, more connected sales process. Don't stay stuck in the past. Move deals faster with Monday CRM.
And to be able to punch in whatever result you wanted into the machines and get that result back. Incredible. Look at this. Smartmatic developed plans to manipulate the election results using programmed voting machine. Look at that. Programmed voting machines. Reported that these plans called for deploying altered machines to approximately 300 voting centers, traditionally pro-Chavez areas, to ensure victory of approximately 1.5 million votes. Following the election, Chavez won by approximately 1.6 million votes. Sources reported Chavez congratulated his team on successfully implementing the manipulation plan. So they plugged in the exact number of votes they were going to win by. This is exactly what we have been saying. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other documents that the White House just released. Beijing escalated efforts to shape U.S. policies in China. So here's a China element. This document alleges that China was straight up blackmailing American politicians who warn a White House official that Beijing had derogatory information on him in an effort to compel him to take a restrained approach to China's attempts to use blackmail against U.S. administration officials. Look at this. This is from the CIA, revealed information through social media. We assess this threat to be credible. Low-level Chinese officials have recommended collecting and using blackmail materials against perceived anti-China U.S. officials. Most detailed and authoritative recommendations that we have seen. And then the whole rest of it is blackout. Wow. National Intelligence Council. Here we go. And declassified memorandum. This is talking about vulnerabilities to the 2020 election infrastructure. We judge that U.S. adversaries, at a minimum, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure in the 2020 election. Adversaries gaining access to U.S.-related election systems could disrupt the voting process, steal sensitive data, undermine the confidence in the election results. We do not know whether any of them have specific plans to manipulate the systems. it says. Goodness gracious. We assess that centralized election-related data repositories such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other election websites are most vulnerable. Systems that tabulate, transmit, and display election results are vulnerable to localized exploitation. But it would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale. Well, okay. Difficult? All right. Adversary claims of manipulation would be difficult to disprove and could undermine public confidence in election results. Well, there it is. They're saying that the 2020 election can be stolen. Look at that. Cyber actors gain unauthorized, they're talking about the 2020 election. So they install malware into a malicious internet protocol areas. The malicious actors collect data, deploy additional malware, establishes persistent access to a compromised system. Cyber actors may compromise more accounts and systems. They exploit the availability tools to automate the process of compromising vulnerable systems. Cyber actor can send a system-specific network traffic and identify vulnerabilities. Wow. There it is. And then they're just showing how they can hack election machines. We need to ban these machines. Okay, so here we go. We assess that vote tabulation systems would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale to compromise election result. The system, each voting machine is not connected to the internet or to each other, and many methods for exploiting them rely on physical proximity. Although an adversary could manipulate voting results across multiple jurisdictions if they had enough states to influence a presidential election, we judge that conducting such a campaign would be difficult. And that post-election audits and paper trails would be very likely to uncover such an effort. They're not saying it can't happen. Wow. I mean, we're like just reading these together. I'm just sort of like taking off the top. I mean, look at this. They're censoring an entire bullet point here. So what is that exactly? This we don't know. Man, that's crazy. This is crazy. Okay, so here we go. Here's more of the documentation. Proactive state with non-citizens or deceased citizens voting. This is from DHS. Over 250,000 non-citizens are illegally registered to vote in just 4 states. Public data files have been reviewed. State election officials in California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Nevada have notified serious threat to national security. And look at this. The enhanced SAVE system has been available. 10 states have processed their full voter lists. The total of 25 states have processed more than 68 million registration records. DHS has enabled those states to identify 400,000 deceased registrants and over 28,000 non-citizens who illegally register to vote. Maybe one of these is your states, right here. Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Idaho. Look at this number of deceased people in Texas. There's over 100,000 deceased people on the voter rolls and 2,200 non-citizens. Crazy. There are plenty of races that could be won by 2,200 votes. Virtually all city races can be won by that many votes. Wild. Okay, let's see one more. National Intelligence Council. This was written in 2020, so on the lead up to the 2020 election. Foreign threats to the U.S. elections. We assess that Russia is using a range of measures primarily to denigrate former Vice President Joe Biden and what it sees as an anti-Russian establishment. Interesting. We assess that China prefers President Trump be defeated. In the past few months, has stepped up public rhetoric criticizing the administration, recognizes that it may affect the election. Beijing did not intend to try and affect the election, blank, 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 online influence and collecting derogatory information about U.S. public officials. So there's more blackmail. Then it says here's what Russia's doing. Foreign state actors may seek to compromise our election infrastructure, a range of possible purposes, such as interfering with the voting process, stealing sensitive data, calling into question the validity of the election results. Russia, China, Iran, and many other non-state actors have the capability to do this. Wow. So Russia was against Biden, fine, and China was against Trump. We assess that China prefers that president, whom Beijing sees as unacceptable and tough on China, does not win the election, although Beijing did not intend to affect the election, influencing and is collecting derogatory information on certain officials. Fascinating. Look at this. They're talking about cyber attacks here. China's doing. Iran is conducting an influence campaign to undermine the current president and U.S. domestic institutions in order to divide the country in advance of the 2020 elections. Oh, so Iran was against Donald Trump. Fascinating. Iranian leadership interests in trying to prevent the president's re-election. Iran efforts probably will focus on an online covert influence, such as spreading disinformation on social media. U.S. Supreme Leader Khomeini, RIP, probably has authorized the influence campaign. The efforts focus largely on creating and amplifying social media content that criticizes Donald Trump. Wow. Okay. Look at this. How do they do it? By recirculating existing news reports, memes, and hashtags, civil unrest, domestic protests, racial justice, mail-in voting, and the handling of COVID-19. Wow. Wow. So if you marched in the BLM rally, you were doing it for the Ayatollah. You salty pigs, you. That's incredible. Look at that. If you were a libtard sharing memes about voter by mail and racial justice, you were doing it because you are an Iranian terrorist. We can now say that. The CIA told us.
With what's being revealed here, I don't know that the American people are going to take this with anything other than Trump trying to secure or ensure that he wins the upcoming midterm elections. I think Donald Trump has done a lot of other things that's kind of muddied the waters with regards to his support. And I think this is one of those areas where it might get a little sticky because obviously he just lost a case in the Supreme Court with regards to the mail-in ballots. And there might be some people that think that he's trying to suppress voters. Now, I do think it's valid that there should be some sort of system that allows there to be voter IDs. And it is crazy to find out that deceased people who've been dead for years are now mailing in ballots and casting votes for people. So that's happening somehow. But for some reason, I don't think the Trump administration has landed the plane in terms of getting the judicial branch to support banning the practices has been used. So as you see, a lot of things is being revealed, but I just don't know if it's too little too late, or people are going to view this as him kind of reaching.
Without a doubt. Probably without question, the most important speech that President Trump has ever given.
America is back and doing really well, but we still.
So do we have, here we go.
Confidence by confronting vulnerability.
This is probably okay, if we're going to play one clip, this is the clip we're going to play. Donald Trump on what did we actually find?
Confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country.
The bitterness there from President Trump. Caroline Leavitt saying that this is a bombshell speech. Everyone should tune in. The findings are going to shock you. Let's just go very quickly here over to X and check out fake news. CNN is the enemy of the people. Looks like this is the White House. Oh, look, it's us. Hey, thanks, White House. There we are. What's going on? How we doing? How we doing? Thanks, White House. We told you the White House is watching. There we go. All right. Okay. And then they're calling CNN fake news. You're on you, ladies and gentlemen. Real news. Real news. Here we go. Okay. Election integrity. There it is. This is the White House hyping it up. Some of the takeaway. China election interference documents are kind of like this. There are hundreds of documents that they just released. So expect there to be drip, drip, drip. Americans should decide American elections. Say it louder for the fake news, says Kalen Dorr, White House digital director assistant to the president. Never before seen CIA files that the CCP meddled in the 2020 election to block President Trump from being reelected. And it was covered up. Time to yank the Communist Party student visas, which are hundreds of thousands a year. That's exactly right. Remember what they took from you. Hail Emperor Donald Trump. The Chinese government wanted a president to lose the next election. They wanted me to lose because they knew I was wise to them. There you go. Industrial grade voter fraud. They did nothing about it. CNN's little company potato here will be monitoring what the president says tonight, but we aren't taking it live given the president's well-documented history of blatantly false things about the election. Really? Well, they're all CIA documents written when Joe Biden was president, or written by people that were no doubt put into their positions when Democrats were in power. So shut up. Here's what Kamala Harris has to say. Before the president gets on television to peddle lies and conspiracy theories, here's what you need to know. 2020 election was not stolen. We won, he lost. The woman doth protest too much. What an odd thing to say. It's strange. Like, so wait a second. Are you admitting that it was stolen? So you're saying there's a chance. It's crazy. President Trump says China hacked hundreds of millions of American voter files, and illegals are registered to vote. Pass the SAVE Act. This is just like pass the SAVE Act. We've got to pass the SAVE Act. Yep, I can tell you for a fact that non-citizens are receiving jury summons after across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I can tell you that illegal aliens are registered to vote in Pennsylvania. We're going to expose it all, says Scott Pressler. Trump name-dropped Maduro altering voting machines. I knew it. Treasonous. White House declassified emails showing NSA members deliberately hid intel assessments from President Trump that China was trying to influence the election in his favor. And we just read that intel to you. Whew. Okay. How it feels waiting for the speech tonight as a 3X Trump voter. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Was this you tonight? Is this going to be us for the midterms? Is it time? They want these communists to take over our nation. They did everything they could to hide the communists. Seems like it might be this guy who was not best at securing election. Yeah, that's Chris Krebs. This is the guy. Honored to serve. We did it right. This is the guy who said it was the most secure election ever. Can we please arrest him now? And we should also then pull the press credentials and broadcast licenses from NBC, ABC. CNN doesn't have a broadcast license, but they need to be stripped of their broadcast license. So how are we going to punish China? That's exactly right. Tina Peters is a patriot. Ladies and gentlemen, a wild evening. Got to process all this. More to come. I'm going to go cover this right now. And the assessments, I encourage all of you to go and to go here live. And then also just a note on how we handle things like this on the channel and why we're so thankful for you to subscribe and be members. We were not going to quit. We're not going to stop. This movement is about making sure that we get MAGA for the next 100 years. And that's where we're going to be. That's what we're going to do. And we're just getting started. We're just locking in. We got 3 months before the midterms. It's almost August. 3 months to the midterms. There's going to be a massive GOP convention in Dallas. We're going to get that done. We're going to be there. We're going to be broadcasting live. You're going to have so much live content on this channel. We're going to be your front seat to what happens in 2028. We know all the players. We are locked in. We got all their cell phone numbers. We are ready to bring you the greatest election experience and access that any channel, any independent channel has ever done. And so lock in. Please do us the greatest service that you could do, which is subscribe to the channel. You subscribe to the channel, then we promise you we will not let you down. We're just getting started. It's good to sort of feel that vibe all over again. And that pump of this is news that will change the world. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the next 2 years. We're going to see a non-stop flow of that for the next 3 years, and we're here for it. Bringing the energy. It's your boy Benny. March with us on to victory that is assured. What a wild night. China stole our elections with the help of Venezuela, and they hid it from Trump. And there's millions of illegals registered to vote that rig our elections. Okay. Looks like we got some fighting to do. Lock in, Patriots. Patriots in control. Have a good night. See ya.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny shows a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold.
Okay, that was the announcement from Donald Trump. As you can see, we also patched in some analysis from people who looked up what the documents actually said. I don't know how much of a smoking gun this is. The CIA is alleging that they were foul play. I'm sure it was the same CIA that said that Trump was, connected to Russiagate and all sorts of other things. I don't know how credible that is. Obviously, I do believe there is foul play in our election system. And as far as whether or not this is a smoking gun, I don't know. I've seen anything here that's going to drastically sway the American public. But Trump did make the case, and people now have the opportunity to do with that as they may. So that being said, thank you guys for joining us. And if you have thoughts on this particular topic, feel free to weigh in on the comments. Otherwise, like and subscribe, stay connected for the latest and greatest updates on topics like this. All right, guys, have a good night.